Hello and welcome to Guitar Whisperer Headquarters. Now, this is going to be a slightly different kind of video. It may end up going on for a bit longer because, well, let me tell you the backstory to this. I have a lovely daughter, and recently her auntie passed away, which my daughter was extremely upset about, as you can imagine. So after she died, I rescued an old coffee table from her flat, which was due to be disposed of, as nobody wanted it. And this is the top from it. It's not a fancy piece of wood. Solid pine, I would have thought. So I came up with the idea that it would be a nice way to remember the departed person by making a guitar using this wood. So that's what I'm going to do. I do make quite a few custom guitars, and normally out of recycled wood, not normally out of any kind of important recycled wood. So I am used to the process, but it's different every time. You don't know really how things are going to go until you give it a go. So we're going to make a start on this today. I'll walk through some bits of what I'm doing, and we'll see where it leads us. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is measure the depth of the wood to see how many pieces we will need to stack up in order to make a body blank. So it's 20mm thick or thereabouts. I'm just going around it with the calipers. Yeah, it's about 20 to 25mm thick. It's not particularly consistent, I don't think, but we'll say 20mm. So we can work out from this how many pieces we'll need to make the pancake style body. It's going to be a Telecaster style, which are normally 1 3/4 inch thick, which is, so if we shoot for about 45mm or 50mm, that'll give us enough wiggle room then, so we can do a bit of planing to make the top look nice, and get it down to about 1 3/4 inches. So if this is 20mm, and I want, say, 100mm, I'll need 4 and a bit. So let's see what I can do on here by using this template and drawing round it and seeing how many shapes I can cut out from the wood. Right, I've sketched out on here what would be the best way to get 3 shapes of Telecaster from here, and I'm going to go with 3 going vertically like this. So I'll have 3 shapes, 20mm each, which gives me 60mm, which is about 2.4 inches, which is loads, which is good because we're going to lose probably some of the wood when I plane back the surfaces to make the wood look good and get rid of this brown varnish. So, first job then is going to be to cut down these lines here. And then after that, I'll start sanding the surfaces back to give a good glue surface. Checking for straightness and that sort of thing. Maybe trim along here a bit as well. And then I'll glue the 3 pieces into a slab before I start cutting out the body shape. So this is kind of the slow, messy part of it. Actually, it shouldn't take too long. Where's my saw? There we go, that's our 3 pieces. There are still a couple of nails sticking out of it, which I've missed while I was doing the table dismantling. Next step is going to be to glue them up into a slab like this. Now, it's quite heavy, actually. I don't think it is pine. Going by the colour of the cut edges and the smell of it, it might be mahogany. Difficult to tell. So, if I wanted to make it lighter, what I could do, because it's in 3 pieces, the middle one, I could chamber it out around here and here and here and some other bits probably as well, just by drilling through with an Irwin bit, or Forster bit should be used really, because this middle section is going to be hidden by the other 2. So I think that might be a thing to do. So if I'm going to do that, what I should probably do to make that work is to cut round these lines first to get a rough body shape. Do some bright relief on the middle one, sand them all down so we've got a good surface for the glue to stick to, and then glue them up. So I think that's the way I'm going to go, which is slightly more complicated. Otherwise I think it really is going to be quite heavy. So yeah, back to the saw. There we go. First one's done pretty roughly, but once they're all glued up and I run the router around the template and stuff, it will look nice. So this is going to be the one in the middle of the sandwich, I think, because it's got some nail holes and bits and pieces in it. So we'll hide it out the way. Right, 1 down. 2 to go. 3 Telecaster shaped bits of wood. So I've been thinking of what order they're going to go in. I think this is going to be the top. Middle for diddle, because it's got some nail holes in it. and this slightly janky bit on the back bottom. So I think the next step probably is to tidy up a little bit and then start sanding and the weight relief on the middle section. Welcome back. Gonna start cutting away material from this middle section there, to make it lighter basically. I've marked out the bits that I'm gonna cut away. I'm leaving sections here for the pickups and the bridge and the control plate and the neck pocket. So we're not cutting huge amounts away, but it will make it lighter. I've also drilled in the corners to make those bits a bit easier to do. Obviously it doesn't have to be a super neat sawing job, because nobody's ever going to see it again once it's all glued up, but it'll be nice to make it partially neat. Anyway, I've also got a new saw, so that's exciting. And yeah, let's see how it works. I'm going to take my time on this. Still not sure what wood this is, but it is heavy and hard and quite dense. It's maybe oak, which isn't an ideal guitar building wood because it is very hard and heavy. But we'll get there, won't we? There we go. So we're losing that bit. It's got a bit of weight to it actually. The wood did split across this short grain here, which is slightly annoying, but a dab of tight bond and a bit of clamping will get rid of that in no time. So I'm going to do that first before we move on to the next steps, which is going to be sanding this varnish off, so we get the gluing surface, putting the locating pins in, and then gluing up. Lots of sanding later. The sander sounds a bit ill, to be honest. That might be due for replacement soon. Anyway, we've got this. So what's going on here is to get the three pieces out of the tabletop, I had to do it vertically, I think it's the best way to describe it. So we've got the grain running this way instead of that way. And now that I got through the thick brown varnish, you can see that underneath it, it is solid wood, but it's all bits of offcuts and stuff. There's like knots in there and sapwood against heartwood and things like that, and different bits and stuff, which a lot of people would consider to be junk wood, but I like it. So, glue time. And clampy time. I've got to clear the bench down first so I can get ready for some serious clamping. glue's in, clamps are on, using my big horizontal press thing, which I made just the other day for doing just this kind of job. So yeah, walk away now for 24 hours or so, come back, unclamp, start tidying up. Let's see, what am I going to do first? Probably using a big power plane to take it down to approximately the right thickness. So I'll have to do some measuring and work out how much needs to come off each side. And then after that, get the template back on it, cut around the outside, do the cavities, that sort of thing. But I'm quite pleased with the way it's going so far. It's going to be a pretty cool instrument when it's finished. Clamps are off, and this is what we've got at the moment. All glued up nicely, everything's safe and secure. It's now clamped down to the bench, and I've moved lots of stuff out of the way, set up a dust extractor, and I'm gonna take about 5mm off each side for now. I could go a little bit thinner with this body because I'm planning it to be a single pickup Esquire kind of thing, because that'll show off the wood of the body best, which is kind of the whole point of this. One of the reasons you can't go super narrow, or shallow I should say, with Telecaster bodies is that the standard Fender 5-way switch is quite tall and it won't fit in the super shallow body. But with an Esquire you don't have that problem, so you could go a bit shallower. Anyway, I'll just go down the 5mm each side first of all, I think, and then have a think and have a look. I'm using a power plane to roughly hog out the bulk of the waste on this. I'm sure somebody's probably thinking, but you should do that with a thickness planer or a drum sander or something. Well, I haven't got one, and there's no room, and I would love to have access to that sort of thing, but I don't, so we're doing it with that. Okay, it's going to get dusty. See you on the other side. Well, that's enough planing for one day, I think. Everything's dusty, my eyes going funny and stuff like that. But I've roughed out most of the wood I want to take off. This is what it looks like now. Now that we got through the horrible layer of badly painted on varnish, it looks like this. So this is the top. This knot, you want to be able to see it there, is like a big indentation there, where bits of the knot have come away as the plane's gone over it. Different colour grains, all sorts going on here. On the back we've got two knots. Again, you can put your finger in these. And I'm not sure if that's a crack or something going on there. I think it's a bit of a crack. And yeah, the different grain. So when you go to a place like the Range, it all says solid wood furniture. And there's solid wood and there's solid wood. If you presented wood like this to a cabinet maker, they would just burn it. Because this sort of stuff isn't particularly wanted by people. But I like it. I love all this variation, this randomness, these interesting, quirky little features. It makes them more interesting. It makes no difference to the sound of the guitar, having stuff like this on it, as long as the neck's not going to fall off or the bridge isn't going to fall off. Anyway, we've got this far now. I might pop the template on now, as everything is already dusty, and then run the router around the outside, so get all the filthy stuff out of the way in one go. Still a bit of a chunk. Not necessarily a bad thing though. It's going to be a proper rock and roll guitar, this. Yes, I think I'll get the template on and then run it around the edges and see where we are. Big pile of wood chips / sawdust. And there's loads more in there. And the body now looks like this. So the router's gone round the edges, and I also put the radius cutter around the edge too. So that's all the outside of the body routing done. Looks rather good, doesn't it? You never really know what you're going to get with wood like this, but this looks pretty cool as far as I'm concerned. Not interesting wood. Same there, not. And then on the edges you get this thing where the heartwood and the sapwood meet each other at different places. And yeah, you know what I mean. So that's fun. Same sort of thing on this edge. It's nice to do the edge routing like that because you get a proper feel of what it's going to look like afterwards. Hang on, let's do this. Give me an idea what the green is going to be like. This is just spray on a bit of water. So that's just wetted down a bit, so this will give you an idea of what it's going to look like when I've done some finishing on it. I'm planning probably oil, then some wipe-on varnish, and then polish over that. But it looks nice, doesn't it? I mean, there's loads left to go. Really, a lot of hand sanding. Neck route, pickup route, control route, stuff and things. But yeah, pleased with that progress. Got myself a new sander. Check out that bad boy. The old one was dying. Excuse me. Well, unsurprisingly, the new expensive and enormous sander is about a million times better than the small cheap plastic Bosch one that it's replacing. Making this a hell of a lot easier. Still quite a bit to go though. Need to do those edges probably soon, and I'm putting that off because it's a bit of a ball ache. but I'll have to start it soon. Doing this at 120 at the moment. Go to 220, 240 or something to give it a slightly smoother finish, but feels lovely already actually. Grain's coming out nicely. All are good. Looking good. Feeling smooth. This thing is great. I'm stopping for a bit because my hands are starting to buzz. I was thinking maybe about going up to some finer grits, but to be honest, it feels great at the moment. I think it's because it's such a hard wood. It's coming up nicely, so let's do the water thing, see what it looks like. Oh, I need some more of that. Now, gives you an idea of what it's going to look like once it's sealed and waxed and stuff. I'll give it another quick inspection, but I think that probably is pretty much about enough sanding for the look that I want to have. So if that is the sanding done, next thing I'll probably do is shield the control cavities and the pickup cavity, and then start doing the finishing on it. So it doesn't need grain filler. It's going to be oil first, then a very thin, probably wipe-on varnish or maybe shellac, and then paste wax over that, and then polished to preserve the beauty of the wood. Right, I'm going to go for a sit down. My hands feel funny. Ready for a bit of finishing now. There's going to be many coats of finishing. This is going to be just the first one. This is boiled linseed oil. It makes a great finish on its own, to be honest. It's that kind of oil that polymerizes over a few days or so. Polymerizing is a nice word for goes hard over time, so it sinks into the ground, goes off a bit, quite slowly, but not as slowly as the unboiled linseed oil, and then ends up giving you a nice hard finish. I'm using it principally because it does a rather good job of bringing out the grain. As you can see, not a difficult finish to apply. You do need to get your wood sanded down to a nice finish before you start. You could always use a grain filler as well before you put this stuff on if you wanted a smoother finish, and you can also use coloured grain fillers to accentuate the grain. Not really an issue with this piece of wood because we've got grain everywhere. I'm probably going to do a few coats of this, like literally 3, and then let it cool for a day or two. And then after that, I'm going to seal it in with something like this stuff, which is a wipe-on lacquer. This is from Crimson? Crimson Guitars. They do a fantastic range of finishing stuff. Let's give it another quick rub. Right, let's do the other side as well. Hello? Linseed oil and some other wood finishing oils as well have an interesting property whereby as they polymerise or go hard, they also produce heat because there's chemicals in there, chemical stuff going on. Science! And one thing that wise old woodworkers are always saying is that you've got to be careful with the rag that you put it on with, because if you end up soaking the rag in the oil and then binning said rag, for instance in a bin like mine which is full of wood shavings and stuff like that, you could start a fire, then your house would burn down. I don't know anybody who this has happened to, if I'm honest. Could happen. Best to be on the safe side though. So this rag will be staying out on the bench top. Won't be going in the bin. There's lots of other finishing oils as well you can use that have a similar kind of properties. Tung oil, T-U-N-G. Danish woodworking oil, is that what it's called? I think it's called something called Danish woodworking oil. I don't know why the Danes need a special oil for their woodwork. They're the experts. One that is often favoured by luthiers is True Oil, which is American stuff, and it's designed to finish and protect the stocks of guns. You know, when you get a fancy shotgun and it's got a fancy wooden stock, which a lot of people speak very highly of. I don't know why I don't use it. I should give it a go at some point. I mean, but I've had good results with this, so why bother changing? Change is scary. There we go. So everything has now had some oil right onto it. And you're starting to get a proper look at what the finished guitar is going to look like. It will dull slightly as it dries and goes off. But the way it's darkened up the grain is really rather good. And there's lots of different bits of grain on here. It's really making the most of them. Right, I'm going to leave that, I think, like that. For some hours. I might put it to one side if I want to do something else on the bench, but there we go. Leave that alone for a bit now. And wait for the oil to go off.
A charity which demystifies the work of the family courts. Incredibly important. Hello, Lucy.
Here we are then. Here's where we're at the moment. Nearly done, actually. I wiped over some lacquer, Crimson Guitars wipe on lacquer to seal the surface, and then I've been sanding it back gently to get it smooth again. There's a bit more sanding to do on the edges because I want to get those looking good. The edge sanding is always a bit of a pain, to be honest, but it's worth taking some time over to make it look nice. The neck joint is done and drilled. The neck is also drilled in the right places to accept these holes. The cavities have been painted with shielding paint. There is the hole going through here to let the wires go through. I haven't done the jack socket hole yet, but I will do anytime now. The bridge mounting screw holes are done as well. I'm going to leave this as a top loader just to make it as minimalist as possible. But yeah, it's nearly done. The edge sanding is the thing that I'm currently putting off because I don't like doing it. I'll get that out of the way. We'll adapt this control plate. I've got some new ideas for wiring that I'm going to try out on this one, which involves a little bit of rewiring on the back of this, but that shouldn't take long either. But we're nearly there. Looking forward to see it in its completed form and then give it a bit of a test drive. Okie doke, let's get this soldering done then. I'm using a control plate from one of my prototypes that is currently in bits, and yeah, we're going for this alternative Esquire wiring. So basically I need to start off by taking pretty much everything out of here and then snap again. I think that's the best way to do it. If I just start moving one wire at a time, I'll eventually cock it all up and then go mad. So let's just very sensibly get all the old stuff out first. There we go, everything's off. All the tags are cleaned up. And then let's start getting this new stuff in. This isn't a diagram I've used before, so you have to kind of actually think about what you're doing, which is unusual for me. Well, the thinking about anything, that is. Right, so let's put these jumpers in first.
Something new that has significant potential to know they can have other tricks. It's those tricks that the doctor in me would really like to understand.
Right, that's everything in there, I think. I'll check it again in a bit though. And let's get it in the guitar then. I'm dying to see if this works. It's all quite exciting. If it doesn't work, I'll just do regular Esquire wiring. But I would like this to work. Right. let's get it mounted up.
Been working with the US Space Agency NASA, looking at the feasibility of using up and then enter a hibernate destination. But while the ambition may be there, it's the potential applications back here on Earth that are both more exciting and to assisted dying debate.
Now, think about it. Even though it may not necessarily appear that way, this.
Well, I think it's working. It's difficult to tell with the sort of tap testing. I think we'll get some. Well, we'll just get it built up and see what happens. And then if we have to dive back in here, that's no big deal. Let's get the bridge screwed down, control plates on, neck on, get some strings on it, and then yeah, we'll have a better idea.
As privacy goes, I change many.
I should cross the picket.
That's a difficult question. Yeah,
Would you?
I'm
Your
sure.
staff were on. Do you think?
Strings are on. Noise! Brilliant. It makes a noise. It is alive. Right, let's get it set up properly then. Need to do a little bit of work on the nut. Lower that down. All this goodness. But we're nearly there. It lives. Right, nut. And here is the finished article. Super chuffed the way it all worked out. It's a really cool looking guitar. Sounds great too. It was handed over to my daughter the day after Christmas Day, and she really likes it too. It's been a bit of a journey, this one. It's got lots of value on many levels for people, and yeah, just glad that it came out looking as cool as it did. Thanks for watching.